Thank you for staying with us. It's still the election studios. So do children have rights? Should children have rights? Because Nigeria signed onto the International Human Rights Convention Agreement on the Rights of a Child. It was officially passed into law in 2003 by the former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, as the Children's Right Act. Now, the Children's Right Act of 2003 was created to serve as a legal document and protection of children's rights and responsibilities in Nigeria. Child's Right Act. But does Nigeria follow this act? Now, joining us in the studio, we have Taiwo Akinlami. He's a social development lawyer. It's good to have you in the studio, Mr. Akinlami.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we also have Atinuke Ayowole. She is special needs education consultant. It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here as well.
Let's just start with getting an understanding of what this is all about. The Child Rights Act. Could you?
Okay, I think the first thing I want to do is to commend your studio for looking beyond the ordinary. When we talk about a nation, Mandela refers to children as the pivotal link between the present and the future. Without children, there's no future. And so for you to consider matters that has to do with children to be part of the things we'll be discussing during the election is very commendable. I must say that. I've not seen any other station doing that. So it's noble and it's novel. I commend you. Now, having said that, I think the fundamental thing is that children have rights. Now, whether those rights are now respected or not is a fundamental, is a symposium discussion for another day. But you see, one thing we need to understand clearly is that, let's start from the Constitution before we go to the Child's Right Act. You know, the Constitution is the ground norm. It's called the ground norm. It's the law upon which every other law rests. Any other law that is inconsistent with the Constitution is inconsistent. It shall be null and void to the extent of that inconsistency. So, Chapter 2 of the Constitution makes it abundantly clear the rights of everybody. So Chapter 2, for example, says everyone has a right to education from primary to university. Clearly stated. Right to health, all of those economic rights and all of those things are there in the Constitution. Now, when you look at that, so the first question to ask today is that following the Constitution, are the rights of children to education being respected? Let me quickly inform you that today, Nigeria has the highest number of children out of school in the world, 13.5 million. Before this government came, it was 10.5. Now it is 13.5. Now Nigeria is responsible for 50% of all the children out of school in the world. That is alarming. So we've beaten Syria, a war-torn country. We've beaten Libya, a war-torn country. We've beaten Somalia. We've beaten all of these countries to it. You know, we've beaten Palestine and all of these places.
And we're not at war.
And it must be that we're at war. Because if we are beating people that are supposed to be at war, and we can't send our children to school, and you go to the North Central, where you have the Boko Haram attack, millions and millions of children are unaccompanied, millions of children are out of school. Now, not only that, some of these children are unaccompanied. Who is an unaccompanied child? A child who is not in the custody of the parents, the father and the mother. So these are fundamental issues that we need to begin to look at in this election. And again, you look at the fact that recently we found that the food that were meant for children in IDP camps were being diverted by certain individuals. There are good-spirited Nigerians that have made contributions to ensure that these children are given food, but we find that people are diverting all of that. So children do have rights. The issue is not about rights. The issue really is about the enforcement of these rights.
Because most times when we talk about the Child's Right Act or the right of a child, we just sort of talk about education. And that's where it seems to, like, could you expatiate a bit and explain some of these rights that we might have relegated to the background simply because we're focusing solely on education of the child?
So the fundamental thing I must say to you is that children in Nigeria, they are not seen, not to talk of being heard. So let's start from the Child's Right Act. You know, the Child's Right Act was promulgated in 2003. It is a kind of domestication of the Convention on the Right of the Child. Now, note that the Convention on the Right of the Child is the most ratified convention in the world today. The only country that is yet to ratify that convention is the United States of America. Even one-ton Somalia has ratified that law, that convention. So in the spirit of the Constitution ratified the Child's Right Act is a form of ratification of the domestication of the Convention on the Right of the Child. And there are 4 baskets of rights that every child has in Nigeria today. Number 1, the Child Right Act settled this issue of who is a child. You know, because before then you have the Juvenile and Young Persons Law that has copious definition that does not respect international standard. So by virtue of Section 277 of the Child Right Act, a child is anybody below 18 years old. Now, the Child Right Act settled that. Number 2, there are fundamental rights that children have. So we have what we call four baskets of rights. The first one is what we call survival rights. Now, the right of the child to life, the right of the child to immunization. There are 9 kinds of immunization a child should be exposed to. The right of the child to be breastfed. WHO says a child must be breastfed with 6 months exclusively and 1.5 years complementary breastfeeding. Then there's what we call key household activities, key household helps that children need in terms of the kind of home that children should live that will respect their safety and all of that. Then you look at the second basket of rights, which we call the developmental rights. Developmental rights actually speaks about the fact that children have the right to develop opinion, to go to school, and all of that. Now, then again, you have the third basket of rights, which you call participation right. That is, children have the right to participate in matters that concerns them. Gone are those days when you want to take decisions concerning children, and you go ahead and take those decisions without recourse to the children. Children are human beings. Children are reasoning beings. They must be contacted. Number 4 basket of right is the one that I'm most interested in. It's called protection right. Now, that protection right says children must be protected from 4 kinds of abuse. Physical abuse. Now, there's a report on violence, drivers of violence against children, which was launched in October last year by UNICEF. I was opportuned to be at the validation of that public presentation of that report in Calabar. And the report found that in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria has the highest number of parents who perpetrate violence against their children in the name of child discipline. Nigeria, Africa, is the beggar of the world. We have collected aid from everybody. Dambisa Moyo says, dead aid, that is, aid does not help us in any way. This is our way of raising children, of beating children, of messing up their mind. Where has he taken us in the Committee of Nations? We are in the fourth industrial revolution. Nigeria has not even participated in the first and the second and the third, not to talk of participating in the 4th industrial revolution. So the fundamental thing, therefore, is that we cannot, you see, if we continue to marshal an argument that dehumanizes people in the name of discipline, and we call it in the name of discipline, and we call it is our culture. The fundamental thing at the end of the day is that culture must have fruits. What is the fruit of this culture? So there's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, you know, a basket of rights. There's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's emotional abuse, and there's neglect. All of these are baskets of rights that children have, and these are the things that, some of the things that I mentioned at the end are the things that children need to be protected.
Let's bring down what's your thoughts on all he has said before we bring a question to you.
All right, so I agree with everything he has said. Yeah, as you rightly said, children are the elixirs of our future, and it's unfortunate that Nigeria currently has the highest number of out-of-school children in the world, with a half population below 30 and over 65% population below 35. And yet, even the national budget, the percentage of the national budget allocated to the educational sector is 6% compared to UNESCO's recommendation of 26%. So it's very unfortunate. And then we get to have an educational system that doesn't really encourage critical and independent thinking. And then if you are not better suited to be able to cope in such a very difficult educational system, that's why we have the cases of people just giving up and just leaving the educational system frustrated out of it. And then if we keep losing talent, Nigeria also has the record of the highest number of talented citizens in diaspora. And it's very sad, because if we can at least start realize that there is a problem, and then we can start raising children and raising a generation that can be able to, because Africa is full of problems, and then the earlier we realize and begin to act upon this, the better we know that we need to start raising problem solvers.